Welcome back to our Richard YouTube channel. In today's class, we'll be learning how to make this very beautiful free bubu top. Okay, so it's made with organza and taped with ankara fabric. And then the beauty is just the fitness that we have around the sleeve area here. It's an open top and it's really simple and beautiful. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to make this bubu top, it's quite simple. You don't need too much measurement. So you need to take your measurement from your center back. So I just indicated it with this to where you want this to stop. In this case, it's just around the below the elbow point, so which is around here. So you need to take that measurement. For me, the measurement that I'm working with is around 23-24 inches. Okay, so that measurement is important. So I'm working with 24 inches, and another measurement you need is the length. That's from your shoulder to where you want this blouse to stop. And for me also, I can work with 24 or 25 inches. So those two measurements is quite important. And then I'll be using an organza fabric for this tutorial. You can actually use a tulle net or whatever it is that you want to use, and then I'll tape it with ankara. Okay, so now this outfit is not going to be having a shoulder seam, which means the front and back is going to be cut together. And like I said, the length that I'm working with is 50 inches, so it's 25 inches. Okay, so by the time I fold it together like this and the front and back is together, I need at least 50 inches in length, and by the time I fold it, 25 inches. So this is going to be enough for me, which is fine. So now, to know the exact amount of fabric that I need, I just need to take this now and measure 25 inches, or you had 1 inch for seam allowance, which is 26 inches. And once I have my 26 inches, I'm going to hold it there now and then fold it into two. So this is me folding my front and back together. So I have 26 inches on fold like this. So the next measurement you need is your center back to sleeve measurement, which is 24 inches. So now, taking the front and back together, I'm still going to fold it. So it's not going to look like I'm folding this into four. So taking my front and back together like this, I'm still going to fold this over using the 24 inches measurement. So I'm just going to make sure that I have up to 24 inches there. So now I'll place my tape rule now and then check if I have up to 24 inches. So once I have 24 inches, I have all my measurements. I can now trace out the excess so that I can focus on the measurement that I need. So I have my actual measurement here. The next thing now is just to remove the neckline. So I'm working like a pino neckline, and I'll be working with same neckline for both the front and back. So the neck width that I'm working with is around 4.5 inches or 5 inches. So I'm just going to go with 4.5 inches, and then the neck depth that I'm working with is also 3 inches, 3 inches or 3.5. Or I can just increase this to 5 inches. I can increase the neck width to 5 inches, and then I'll connect this using my curve. I'll just eyeball this and cut. Please connect with your right curve. So now I'm connecting this now, and then my neckline is removed. So now I've taken out the neckline, and then if you open it up, this is what I have. So now we've done all the cutting we need to do on this. The next thing now is to bring in the ankara fabric that I'll be using for taping. So to tape this now, I'll be working with this ankara fabric, and then I'm going to use it to tape around the four corners of this. So here now I'll tape it around the hem, and then here on the other side also. Then I'll also be cutting my ankara in a bias form to hem the neckline. Okay, so now I'm working with this fabric, this ankara fabric, and then I'm just going to put it on fold now. And the width that I want to use for my taping is around 2 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on fold now and measure 2.5 inches. So I'm gonna have to cut out my long strip of fabric. And actually cut this in bias form, but I just cut it in a straight form because the place that I'm adding this to is actually straight, so it's not going to really affect it. So I have a fabric of 2.5 inches length here, including allowance. Okay, so I'm going to be hemming it on this part and on this part. By the time I'm done, I'll be left with around 1.5 inches, which is fine for me. You can do more or less if you want, and it is quite long, so I'll be using that to tape the line round for this. And then the next one I'm going to be cutting now is for the neckline. So now, because this neckline here is actually round, it's not straight, so I'm going to be cutting my ankara in a bias form. And then cutting a bias form just means that you're putting it on fold like a rectangle, in a rectangular form. So instead of cutting it straight like I did earlier, I'm just going to take it now and then put it on fold, on bias like this. And then I'm going to cut out an inch or half an inch. Remember, this is on fold, so I'm just going to cut out 3/4 of an inch now. And then I'm going to iron it in form of a bias to pipe the neckline. Okay, so now I've cut out the bias, and then I just cut out 1.5 inches because the neck is quite wide, it's not going to be enough. So I cut out 1.5 inches on fold, and then I'm just going to slash this into two and join it together so that I can have one long strip of bias for my neckline. Okay, so that's about everything I need to cut now. So I'll take it to the machine now so that I can start to work on this. Okay, so now I've slashed it into two. I'm just going to cut it here now, then place this against each other now and sew it so that I'll have one long strip, enough for my neck. Okay, so I just also show us this, the one that was cut on bias. You can see that I went ahead to take it to my ironing table now, and then I folded half inch in, like the regular bias that we buy in the market, so that I can easily turn it off. So what this does is that once you are using this to turn like a curve, like neckline, armhole area, or anywhere it is, it's better to fold it in bias to cut than rather than cutting it straight, because bias fold allows it to stretch better, and then it can just maneuver the curvy area compared to when you cut it on straight form. So now we have this ready now. The next thing is for me to take this to my sewing machine now to tape my organza with my ankara fabric. Okay, so now I've taped the neckline with ankara bias. I forgot to record this, I lost some of the clips there. So now I'm just going to close it. I just sew it and then I turned it just like, but because I've ironed it, it's made it lay well and easy for me to work with. So now I'm just finishing it up now, and then I've gotten to the head. So now I'm going to bring this out, and this is what the neckline is looking like, and I taped it outwards. Okay, so I tape it in a way that the ankara is showing outwards like this. So now you just need to go ahead now and iron it. So now the next thing now is to tape the hem, and to do this I already have my long strip of ankara fabric. So now to do this, I'm going to be taping it on the right side. So now I'll just place it, this is the right side of my fabric, so I'm placing it right side facing the right side, and then I'll take it under my machine and then just sew by 1/4 of an inch. It's fine for me. So now I'll just place it under my machine now and then sew it straight. And like I said, this fabric is actually cut in the straight from the ankara fabric, and I can actually get away with it because I'm just sewing it to a straight area. Also, it's not a curved area, so I don't need to actually cut this on bias. So I'm just sewing it straight like this to my organza fabric, and then by the time I finish sewing it, I'm going to top stitch on it so that it's easy. You can also iron it, but I prefer to top stitch. So I'm just sewing now. I've sewn it with the last bit, and then I'm going to cut off the excess that I have. So after cutting off this excess now, I'm going to open it out like this and then push in the, remember this is an organza fabric, so if you push it like this leftover, this rough edges here is going to be showing on your organza part. So this allowance that you have here, you push it to the ankara part, which means it's going to be clean on the organza side. So now you push this to the ankara part now, and then I'll place it under my machine now, and then top stitch on it. Okay, so like I said, you can actually iron it if you don't want your seam line to show, but I don't mind my seam line showing, so I'm just going to top stitch on it. So this that I'm doing now, you can see that it's now laying flat on its own even without ironing. So this that I'm doing now, I'll go over and do it to all the edges of this bubu blouse. Okay, I'm going to do it on all the edges, and then also on the hem line here, you want to either weave it or you just turn it also, so that it can be neatly finished. So now by the time you turn it, you have something like 1.5 inches or thereabouts. So if you want this to be bigger, instead of the 2.5 inches that I cut, you can cut up to 4 inches, so that by the time you sew it with half an inch here, and then you turn it with half an inch or 1 inch on the other side also, you'll still be left with 2 to 2.5 inches, which is quite decent. So now I'll go over now and do all this off camera, and I'll bring it back to show us what we have. Okay, so now we have taped this. So this is what the neckline is looking like. You can see it's neatly finished, and then all the edges have also been taped round. So now the next thing I'm going to do, you can actually just measure your armhole measurement and then sew it down like you do your regular bubu, but this tutorial is actually requested. So the next thing I'm just going to do now is to measure that point where the sleeve is going to stop, which is around here. And then I forgot to mention that when you are cutting this, remember we measured 24 inches. So if your full length is 24 inches, you need to remove the 2 inches or 3 inches band that you are going to be adding to it, because it's going to add to your actual measurement. So for example, if your full measurement is 24 inches, you need to remove 2 inches if you're adding a 2 inches band. Then when you are cutting it on your organza fabric, you do 24 minus 2, and that's going to be giving you 22 inches left. But if what you measured as 24 inches is not your actual measurement, and you've already omitted this from your measurement, then you can just go ahead and use it like that. So now this is where I want this to stop. So you need to measure the round measurement of that area like this. So now that place is, if you want it firm, you can just measure it like that, but I don't want it too firm, so I'm just putting one finger inside this. Then I have around 8.5 or 9 inches. So now that 9 inches, now when you take your blouse together, you should make sure that the hem line matches on this part like this. So now this is the upper part, which is the shoulder part, which is the fold point. So at the tip, so you can see this is the neckline here, and this is the shoulder. So at the tip on the upper part here, you measure that, you take that measurement, that's 9 inches, you divide it by 2, because this is divided into 2, this is the front and the back, and then you just measure the 4.5 inches here. Go over to your sewing machine now, and then sew it close there. That's what is going to hold it together for you, because you are not going to be sewing it on the side at all. So you sew it close here, and then you do the same thing for the other side also. Then we'll take this to the mannequin so that we'll see what we have. Okay, so this is our blouse. You can see the taping we did here. You need to iron this well. I'm yet to iron it, and then this is the taping on the other side. So like I said, the side is going to be left to flow freely like you have here, and you should make sure that you serge all this place. You don't want it this rough. I just did this because the person that actually requested for this needs it urgently, and I'm doing it for the purpose of the tutorial. So you hem it on both sides and make it as neat as possible. So with the way we cut it, it's just going to be giving you like an handkerchief effect. You can see that it is low at the center front, and it is just dropping down at the side. And then on the sleeve area here, we just tighten it with the actual hand measurement. So this is just going to hold it still for you, because it does not have any side seam. So tighten it here to your sleeve will make sure that this is just going to stay put on your body, and it's not just going to be going all about. So like I said, you can actually use an organza like I did, or you use a tulle net or any see-through fabric like soft chiffon or whatever it is that you want to use for this. This is actually really gorgeous, and it's very simple to make. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.